voice, if you can hear my voice, you're hearing my voice. If you can hear my voice, if you can hear the sound of my voice, you are on LSD. 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 You are on the Lonely Screen Delicatessen channel.
All right, we're live. Hey guys, this is my friend Kevin. I've actually met him on Facebook through a mutual friend that I used to work with, and everybody was telling me, like, you should really hang out with this guy, you should talk to this guy, because you guys are saying the same shit all the time. And I was like, okay, like, because, honestly, a lot of people say that, and I'm like, and I go, like, be friends with them on Facebook, I'm like, nah, fuck this guy. But no, like, they suck, right? Like, yeah. But Kevin, I was like, okay, nope. Like we became Facebook friends, and then I was like, we're posting the same memes, like right away. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this will work out. Like, it's pretty great. On the same people, yeah. Yeah, no, it just happened. Oh yeah. Well, it was the same type of thing where, like, how you and I met Andrew through Mike, where, like, just somebody was being literally insane, and I'm not even yelling at you. I'm just trying to get you to acknowledge that there is, like, some things are real, like that you exist in reality in any way, shape, or form, and you're just being terrible still. And then Andrew chimed in. He's just like, I don't think this person is real. Like, and then friends. Woo! Yeah. No, zero. Yeah. Yeah. A snowflake. Yeah. Yeah, just to ask a question or come from a rational point of view to try and just figure out the situation, you instantly get labeled both sides pariah, like right away. NPC. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right. Silence is violence. That's why she got mad at you. So this is another reason why. So I actually, this is one of the guys that I was talking to you about, like maybe doing a show on the channel with too, with the sports stuff with his, with our mutual friend. Because I think, I really, one thing I liked about working with our mutual friend Kevin was like, she's kind of the same way. Like she has some bias, but even then she still doesn't like let you know what her bias is. She's mostly just like fuck you most of the time, which is like she's like your friend Kat, but like very offensive, like a Boston version of your cat. Yeah. But she's the stereotypical Boston guy, but she's like a good-looking chick. But no, there's like the hot Boston girls are a little less Boston, but she's a good-looking Boston chick. But you would think if like you never saw her and you heard her talk, you're like, oh, this bitch must be like 300 pounds and like a face that looks like a foot and fought dudes. And then you see her and you're like, oh, that's not what? That doesn't make sense. She should be talking like Paris Hilton or something, you know? But straight Cockney? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The surrounding areas. And they're like, I'm from Boston. For sure. Mm-hmm. That's actually a thing, but not in Vermont, New Hampshire. In Maine, they sound more Boston than Boston people. But that's just a weird thing. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, God. See, I would... See, I would believe like, if somebody said they knew somebody from like Kevin's area, because you're from Ohio, right? That's like where like, oh damn, nice, very cool, yeah. But what is it like? Yeah. That's what I was just gonna say, dude. The Youngstown mob runs Phantom Fireworks, dude. That shit's fucking real as fuck, and it makes them millions of dollars. It's crazy, and it's not even a laundering service for them. Like they legit make like $1 million a day for like 2 weeks out of the year. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. You take a loss for 360 days and you make a crazy profit on 5 days, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Right now. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's the weirdest stores are surviving. Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe they own it. Maybe they own the building. Yeah. It's crazy, yeah. Dude, what's Florida? Like, Florida's crazy like that. There's 1,000 people a day migrating into Palm Beach County, and the property value is like way too high for that many people coming in, and the jobs are going away instead of going up. And dude, that's but no, our county specifically. No, like our county specifically, for some reason, like this whole, like for the past couple of years, it's been 1,000 people a day. Yeah, literally cut it in half. Yeah. Yeah. But it. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's money. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fun fact about Miami, all economists, or like The Economist, Forbes, and all economy professionals rate it the worst city in the United States because the average cost... No, it's specifically because, like... No, because the celebrities fuck up the income and property value, like, ratio to wage earnings. The average wage in Miami is $40,000 a year. The average cost of living to survive just anywhere in Miami, like just as an average, is $400,000 a year. Is how much you need to make to technically survive. So that means 98% of the population in Miami lives like hundreds of times below the poverty line. Which is crazy. That's right? Or you get to live in like the trailer park in Hialeah. But like that's kind of it. Yeah, like a house. It's like a house. Yeah. Well, I'm getting fuzzy. There we go. But yeah, man, that's like a product. It is. It's and dude, people shit on Florida all the time. Like I posted something about where somebody was talking about how shitty Florida was, and that's why we lead the nation in COVID cases. And I was like, we're not even second, you know, dude. Like, that dude that was arguing with me, he's like legitimately one of the smartest people in the world. That's my friend, the geneticist friend that I was talking about. Like, and he just argues with me to be right against me because I get him a lot, and I don't have like a fucking, and I'm not one of the smartest people in the world, and I can like logic loop one of the smartest people. Like, he's legit as fuck, man, and I can get him. And he's like, fuck, you're the dumbest smart person I know. Oh, dude. I do some dumb shit, but apparently smart people think I got a brain, and I don't. But, yeah. Right? Dude, why do, like, the three of us, I see, like, exceptionally smart people, like, trying to, like, pull us on to, like, the super liberal side. you know? And I'm like, I understand you're probably like in the top 1% of IQ, but you're not coming at it from an objective point of view, like anything here, you know? It's true. Yeah. Because if I... Yeah. We used to do like MMA, bro, like legit MMA, and people know that. Yeah, and you got a brain. And you have a brain. You're like not saying dumb shit, you know? Mm-hmm. you must have been... Yeah. 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 And because that's most of America. Yeah. It's weird. You teach the kids. Dude, did you see my post about all the teachers like in Royal Palm should be replaced? Because I don't know if you've met a lot of people that have grown up in Royal Palm. They're very pro-communism in a very alarming way. It's real weird, right? It's come from what? Yeah, well, not even like that much money, even like lower middle class, like... Yeah. But the kids in Jupiter, the people that grow up in Jupiter, they're more level-headed than anybody I've really met in Palm Beach County, you know? Like, the kids from Boca and Delray, they're spoiled rotten, like, worse than the people in Royal Palm, right? But they just don't have an opinion. But like most of the kids there's not a lot of people that grow up in Boca. It's a lot of, you know, like older people. And the kids that do grow up, the kids that do grow up, they just don't care, you know? And like, and same with Delray. Yeah. Well, I'm talking even older, like older than us and younger than us across the board. Like if you came from Royal Palm, even when it was like 20 years ago when it was kind of nothing, you know, just kind of nicer but not too nice homes, you know, it was just a nice little suburb, it was still like churning out like pro-communism. And like the only way you get that across the board for like 20 plus years is like the teachers are just, or what? Yeah, the teachers are just going like, this is like, yeah, this is, my opinion is what you should be taught. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Yep. So I actually have a question for you as an educator. So Andrew and I talked about this a couple times. We both saw the same study where they're saying like the younger generations, like the kids that you're teaching, right? they don't have an inner monologue. Do you like see that at all, or are you noticing that in any groups of kids or whatever? Like they just shit out their mouth like right away. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the one that didn't hit us? Yeah. Okay. That's, okay. Yeah. 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 We don't need to do that. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. See, I hated the outside, so this is my dream childhood right now. Yeah. I'm like, why do I have to, can't everybody just come over here and we'll play? Like, I've got all the stuff. I just don't want to see the sun. And they're like, we're young. Yeah. Well, I would still go because I still wasn't like the richest kid with all the coolest stuff, but I'd be like, can we like sometimes come over to my house? Because, like, yeah. Like I had everything cool, but like these kids, like some of the kids that I grew up around, they had like remember all the robots that like Nintendo made and like the 3D, the red infrared 3D gear and shit that was like the cost of a CD player. And parents are like, I'm not gonna fucking buy you $1,000 video game. It's fucking 1990. Yeah, it's like no, like sometimes we'd all want to like take turns on like the 4 or 5 that this one kid had, and I'm like, okay, I'll ride my bike for that because that's fucking cool. Like, you know, so like I would go out, but like this is my dream now because like I can do literally anything I want to on my computer, like video game wise, and interact with who I want to, and I don't have to see the sun because I hate the sun. I don't like the beach. Yeah. So there's a or the fuzzy channel. Yeah. Or the fuzzy channel when everybody's asleep with the volume off. Yeah. Makes sense. Oh. Just a giant box of porn. Oh, God. Yeah. Yes. I had a Sable poster. Yeah. 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 The girl that comes out of the cake. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
An arm stuck in her all the way up to his shoulder. Screwed.
Yeah.
Broken from the start.
Yep.
Yeah.
People ask me all, my daughter's about to be 6. People are like, oh, you're going to get her a phone soon? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not going to get her a phone soon. You out of your goddamn mind? She has a little tablet.
that can go fucking like it's like a VTech, it can do games and shit, and get the fuck out of here, bro. She's got to learn the alphabet better. She just can't have a fucking phone. Like,
nah, man, and that's scary, dude.
The fact that she can already operate Disney Plus and navigate Amazon and find a movie she wants to watch, that's enough, bro. That's fucking enough. I remember taking her to my grandmother's when my grandfather died a couple years ago, and she's watching the Disney Channel, and a commercial comes on, and she's like, "Why'd you change it?" And I was like, "I didn't change it. It's a commercial, bro." And she's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh,
you got a lot.
The gilded lily on which you live, young lady. Fuck,
you got
man.
a lot to learn. You got a lot of life experiences.
So I recognized very quickly, like, oh, they're living. Me and Mike have talked about this before too. Where Lozo, you've been like, oh, my son will never make good music. His life's gonna be too easy. He doesn't have any pain.
Yeah.
Fucking,
that's how I make music.
I'm serious about sports for my daughter because of that. We want her to have some kind of adversity to understand, like, overcoming, because like we had her in a soccer league where they gave all the kids trophies, and my wife's Israeli, like she's pretty serious about soccer, and she was like, give them trophies for what? They didn't even play a game. They just did a bunch of little scrimmages and exercises. And they're like, we want to get them excited about, and Eva was like, no, I'm going to go to a different league. Fuck this. Like,
yeah. And every time you bring that up, I got to tell you, like, say it every fucking episode, I'm from ground zero of that Karen bullshit, because like first grade, I was on the best bowling team in like Northern California for like first graders, and we just fucked up other kids, and like the next year, and then like third grade, like we was the same domination, like nobody could touch us. The three of us that my stepdad taught how to bowl, we were getting like as third graders like 270s. Like that's hard for adults to get. He's like a professional bowler now, like late in life, but like he could have been if my mom wasn't so terrible. But and then all of a sudden everybody got the same size trophy as we did, and I was like, but why? We beat them. Like nobody took a game off. Nobody took a frame off of us. That's how good the three little kids were, right? And we're like, why did they get anything? Like, or just give them a smaller trophy. And they're like, well, like what Andrew said, like, well, we want everybody to feel like they did something. I'm like, I'm literally in third grade saying, but they didn't. Like,
they did do something. They competed and they didn't get the goal. That's how it goes.
Yeah. I immediately
grew up in a sport where you couldn't do that.
It sucks for like a day, and then you move on and go on
to the
next thing.
Listen, there was one kid on another team that probably could have, like, if we had moved to like a 4-person team, we probably would have sniped him, because he was the only guy like getting close to us, like in our league, and then like the Northern statewide league, he was still the only one. He was like carrying these kids that were eating their boogers, right, against like the 3 powerhouse kids. And I was like, I felt bad for him for a minute, and then I'd look at my trophy, I'm like, I don't feel bad anymore. Like that kid had real drive to try and catch us, like, and that was good. And then I was thinking about that a couple years later, because like the 3 of us quit, and we all like became video game nerds right away. And then like later on we found out he quit too, because like I feel like now he's good, we're gone, he's good enough to have the number 1 team, but now it doesn't mean anything for him anymore either, because and that's got to suck even worse, because we had it easy. Like, we weren't trying. This kid was fucking, like, he was there more than we were practicing to get as good as we were. He was trying real hard, and then he has the opportunity when we're gone, like, and then now he's not competing against anybody, and now they're all getting the same trophy as him. Like, what? Like, that, they literally took away his reason to have a fire. And we were just,
took away his motivation.
Dude, I don't know what happened to that kid, but like, I hope he did something good with his life, because that kid had drive in second and third grade. Like, that's an adult level drive that kid had.
It'll snuff it out, man, if you don't have a good reward. Unfortunately, like, I remember for me, starting in boxing, like, I just wanted to make my dad psyched. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted, and my granddad, that was on my dad's side, my granddad, that grandfather, all we ever did was watch a boxing match when we go over his house. Like, literally sit there, drink coffee, watch boxing. That's like, so for me, it was like the reward of that. And then like, also once you get it's like, oh, I'm pretty good. Like I'm good at this. I can continue. I can go for it. Like that is so. And then going from there into other, forms of combat sport, and then like learning about yourself, learning about how you deal with difficulty in that way, and it's like a rite of passage. I think, especially for young men, man, it's something you need. I think, and that's, we talked about this before. There's no more rites of passage.
Doug. Dude.
Yeah. There's no more like, okay, you've now gone through this doorway. You've now crested this threshold. Now, it's now just like, no, you matter from the fucking beginning. Well, there was a point in time where you had your say. The reason it meant something had to have substance. Like it had to be because you were a man of some, or person of some value for some reason. There was some merit attached to who you are. And now it's just like, nope. That's part of the social media thing too, right? Where it's like, I don't know if we're supposed to be able to.
The rite of passage is on social media.
There's no rite of passage though. Now it's
but that's like the closest.
Has a say.
I get more likes than you.
You get flamed, like right. That's the first time you get pwned. But
Yeah.
like fucking, you go boop, 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 boop. I matter, and because in a room, if I was with all my older cousins and uncles and my dad when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, that age where you're transitioning into young manhood, and I say something dumb, they're gonna be like, "That's stupid. Just shut up. Don't talk again. Shut up.
Yeah.
Go eat something and shut up, you fat fuck." Like they're not gonna be kind to me about it. I'm gonna get checked, and I either gonna have to find a way to support my idea and prove them wrong, or prove myself right, or whatever, or express the value in what I'm saying, or I'm gonna have to shut the fuck up and come up with some new shit to say that's better to say if I want to be heard. So like, that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's like, oh, everything I say matters, all my feelings matter. But now it's like, what are you saying though? What, I don't hear what the fuck you're saying. All I hear is that you're upset. There's nothing else. Everything else is recreational outrage, recreational frustration. There's real shit that's getting overshadowed right now because of that whole mentality and that whole idea. Like, police reform should be the number one thing that everybody's talking about, but instead it's all these groups of kids that are going fucking wild and acting crazy, and they're doing so under the guise of outrage, where in actuality it's like just a bunch of people who want an excuse, and
Go
the
burn
people who
shit and
just fucking be wild.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could not. I didn't even need an excuse. I was a wild ass kid at one point myself. You know what I mean? Like, I would steal surfboards and fucking throw rocks at hobos. Like, I was a fucking savage when I was a child. Like,
and that's normal. That's you finding your identity and you finding your personality.
yes.
But kids, they don't go outside. They don't get into stuff. Parents don't even put them in stuff anymore.
Well, also a kid like me, when I was growing up, I needed to have my ass kicked in some way. I needed to work out so hard that I was gonna puke. I needed to fucking have a wall in front of me that I had to work to get over, because at the age of 16, I was 6 foot tall, 240 pounds. You know what I mean? And fucking pretty goddamn athletic for a chubby kid, and on top of that, intellectual enough that I could reason my way through any shitty behavior of my own. A kid like that needs to find somebody that can, through merit, make them respect them. You know what I mean? And I had a teacher, and it's cool. Like when I said you're the last bastion of masculinity in education is the gym teacher. I had a teacher who was an art teacher and a shop teacher. His name was Mr. Osborne. I've probably told we got a ticker for how many times I've talked about him on the podcast.
That's more like a you and me. We've talked about
it a lot.
Yeah.
Conversations we've had. This guy used to, if you were having a problem in class or if in the hall or whatever, he'd grab the two kids, throw them in the fucking art supply closet, and be like, "Get to it, figure it out. Go ahead. You got 2 minutes. I'll give you a hall pass. I'll give you 6 minutes to scrap it out. Go ahead." And 90% of the time, kids would pussy out, or there would be a couple of fucking knocks. Maybe somebody catch a dinger and get an eye shut, and he'd fucking make you shake hands. And usually it would escalate from there. He was like an old school dude, like a fucking man who had worked on construction sites. And this is another thing we talked about with teachers before, especially at the collegiate level. Teachers used to be Indiana Jones. Teachers used to be somebody who went and got an education, took that education and applied it to a field, and then came back and taught, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that might have been. And now it's somebody who's like, they go to a school, they become a TA, they stay at that same fucking school, and then they get their degree, and they stay at that same fucking school and become
a teacher without getting the real life experience.
Yes, without
Honestly,
mixing it up in the world.
What's that?
And you don't that's half of what you're teaching is experience.
Yes.
I could go read all the fucking books about being a fucking brain surgeon. I doubt anybody out there would want me to fucking cut their head open and do anything with their brain.
Dude.
But I know everything.
Dude,
but I didn't experience it.
You know what's crazy? It's like 1986, Rodney Dangerfield made that movie Back to School. And exactly what you're talking about is he was a businessman for like, his character was like a businessman for years. And he knew how to get things done, right? And he had a PhD, like, business professor.
Like, you gotta kiss a few palms, kid. You gotta,
yeah, that's the exact scene. Yeah, and he was trying to explain how real business worked, and the guy was like, "Well, I don't know."
County commissioner and do a little business with them.
Yeah, and like the
real deal.
Yeah, and the professors.
The wheels moving there, kid. Ooh.
Yeah, but the professor was like, "That's not how things are done," and he's like, "I own like $10 million worth of businesses. You're telling me I don't know how things are done?" Right. It's like that's literally all of the teachers now, though. But I like that was like a little nod to how teachers and like you said in the collegiate level especially are like that. They've only ever been a teacher.
Or the opposite in the character that Sam Kinison played in that movie, a history teacher who was actually a fucking war vet.
Yeah.
Who was like, "Who's there in the rivers of the night?" And there's the whole fucking bit.
You're like, that's too much. Yeah.
Yeah, but now everybody teachers at the school they went to. It's a weird. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to potentially be a tattoo artist. That's what I thought I wanted to do because I could draw and shit. And a buddy of mine was like, "Dude, it's such a gross, cutthroat kind of industry. Everybody is kind of slicing each other's necks and that shit. You don't want to do it, man. If you're gonna do something with art, do something bigger. You know what I mean?" And I remember that and seeing that and applying that same mentality to so many other things. And it seems now like with education, it's almost clannish as that, where it's like if you won't play the game in a lot of ways, you're gonna just have a harder fucking time.
Yeah, you can even be the most left, super, like socialist type person like Brett Weinstein, and like just because you don't toe the line of bullshit,
cannibalize you,
dude. That's
who they first. Dude, the mafia, the first people they extorted were Italian people.
Yep.
The cartel, the first people they extorted were
Nazis.
Colombian people. Okay, La MS-13, it's El Salvador. You go to yours first. You know what I mean? When the Crips and the Bloods fuck up somebody, it's usually black people. It's the same shit. Who do they fuck up first? The closest. That's how. So the left is going to eat themselves, and the extreme of either side eats the other. It's just very, very visible on the left now because all the people on the left are young and vocal.
Yeah. Very
vocal and avid. And it's becoming what Oliver was talking about. It's becoming more of a normalized thing to have a radical viewpoint that skews that way.
Yeah. And another thing we talked about too, in regards to that, is like the true center is like right of center, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But because
the left is so far ridiculous left right now.
Like Andrew said, it's normal to have radical ideas as a moderate liberal, which is
standing at the center. Bernie is extremely left, and he is not nearly left enough for a lot of the ideas that are being put from that sect, which is fine. I honestly think it's good to have like a confluence of ideas swirling around. I find the problem being with all this like intentional stifling of speech and this intense degree of like creating an other in the conversation, right? Like everybody who doesn't have your opinion, everybody who doesn't have your viewpoint is the other, is the opposite. Saw a funny meme. Yeah, the enemy. I saw a funny meme where it was like libertarians discussing ideas with conservatives. And it's like two turn of the century gentlemen with curly mustaches with their waist pants, like talking.
I saw that today.
Having a political conversation with liberals, and it's two guys with knives and like combat gloves, like squaring off. And it's like, that's what it feels like sometimes And then also, as a guy who like I frequent a lot of libertarian pages, you say something on one of those pages and it's like everybody's like statist, bootlicker,
oh yeah,
and it's like,
dude, that's why I like that page that you shared with me and then I shared with Kevin.
Conservative libertarians page.
Yeah,
dude, that's a good page, man.
They're a lot less like bootlicker yelling and all that kind of thing. It's like a lot more of a like, no, I fiscally conservative with I don't give a fuck about what you do personally. Like,
yeah,
but I like that.
I like how they'll tell you your idea sucks, but then they'll like rationally explain why it sucks.
Yeah, talk to me about it.
And how it's not libertarian instead of
that's
just
what
like,
we're missing. That's what we're missing over and over again in the general mainstream discourse is that whole idea of like we could just talk. We could just have a conversation. Any of us, all of us. I don't know where the fuck that went, but it's scary. And I'm also worried if Biden becomes the president, I hope that the level of scrutiny that Trump has received through his presidency, it persists through every president that we have.
It won't.
I don't think it will, but I hope that it will. I think we're so team-based now.
It won't through the media, but it will through what they call alt media and all stuff like that. And that's where it could flip-flop and the other side starts getting violent and starts setting shit on fire.
You don't want that side to be violent.
Absolutely. Those people have guns.
Yeah, those people have guns and weapons that you're not supposed to have.
Those people are law enforcement. Those people are the people that if they look see, we have this situation now going on with the people that are having these riots and these groups like Antifa or whatever, where they are having these situations and then they themselves are looking the other way regarding certain behaviors. You know what I mean? Right. Those groups are saying, well, certain times you need certain kind of activity to get the job done. Well, when people who are like the law enforcement group, I guess, whatever, the law enforcement class, the law enforcement, cast of person, the veteran cast, the veteran class, when that group gets wild, and that group decides, we're just going the other fucking way, that's when shit's going to get real nutty because when a guy with a "Don't Tread on Me" shirt gets jumped and he caps somebody and peels their fucking wig back and the cops are like, hey, get the fuck out of here. That's when it's going to be real wild. Yeah, when they're like...
So Florida?
They go like, hey, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, we know what happened. Get the fuck out of here. Just get the fuck gone. Like that's when shit's and believe you me, if shit keeps burning,
that's what's gonna happen.
It's gonna
and
it's gonna be a wild couple months.
It's literally a bunch of kids trying to start a war that they're not ready for against mad adults with weapons. It's literally like the Filipinos trying to start a war with Japan or Spain, right? Instead of Spain landing with guns. The
problem is all these people are crying out about corruption, which we do need reform in a lot of law enforcement.
Absolutely.
Officers of the law should be required to be 2 days a week in a jiu-jitsu class, just like they're required range time and shit like that.
Yeah. They should mental health too.
Yeah, they should require monthly classes for de-escalation. There should be more things that they have to do, right? I totally agree with that. 1 million.
Get rid of the what is that? The union, the police union, fraternal order police, because that shit's
a lot of things.
That shit's mob.
Unions are great to get you more money, but then unions are also terrible when
like
they protect shitty employees.
Yes. Yeah, man. There's a lot of things, and the crazy thing is, you can say that to somebody that's crazy on the left. They're like, well, I mean, a better way wouldn't a better way just to be to get rid of it all? And you're like, no, God damn it.
We need to look at those issues, right? We need to look at the fact that there's tons of nepotism in regards to those kind of jobs and shit like that. But what we're seeing over and over again is those same behaviors that are vilified being perpetuated like super, super fucking heavily on the other side. Yeah. And it's like, well, how can anybody now want to support the idea that you're espousing when you're doing the same shit the minute you're given an inch? The minute you're given a yard of land, you want to reign over it in a draconian way. Mm-hmm. It's really weird, And again, I said, for me, it's changed. There's no more right and left.
But it's okay.
And authoritarian and libertarian are the two fucking real.
But it's okay. No, but it's okay because I'm on the right side of history, Andrew.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
You know, like that's one of the things I've touted on Facebook a lot. Like people using that slogan, the right side of history. That's literally the same slogan that they were using in Maoist China, in fucking Nazi Germany, in Cuba, like in Argentina, in Venezuela.
A lot of the same ideas and tactics. But if you're against it, you're a Nazi.
But they're using.
They're gonna backfire so hard, man. They're gonna backfire so fucking hard. Because let me tell you something, man. I'm a regular motherfucker. Like I have no allegiance toward either side. My concern is my cul-de-sac. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My concern is my fucking street. And if it gets to the point where I feel like I need to defend my street, if it gets to that point, there's not going to be a like stand down. I'm going to just start shooting motherfuckers. I don't want to do that.
No.
So if you're a dude like me and the other dads on my cul-de-sac who range in every ethnicity and different field and jobs, we got guys that are in marketing. There's a cop on my block. I'm a fucking musician and now a podcaster this fucking past year. Like all these fucking things, but the main thing is like this guy's got a kid going to college. This guy's got 2 daughters that are like in high school. I got a fucking kid who's in elementary school. The guys across the street have 2 twins in elementary school. Like that's what the fuck we care about. You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, that's where you go to your home, to your family, and that's what matters.
And this idea that people are going to bring the fight to this place, that we're coming to the burbs. I remember seeing a thing with Antifa, we're coming to the suburbs. Watch out, we're going to the suburbs. It's like, dude, everybody in the suburb got some guns. Every normal person has even that old Winchester sitting somewhere. Like, fuck. And in the area that I'm in Georgia, one of the cities, Kennesaw, to own a home, you're required to be a registered gun owner. So if you want to be a homeowner, you have to be a gun owner. You know what I mean?
Sounds great. The more you describe your state, I'm like,
because it's like you have really, really liberal cities and really, really conservative burbs and like rural areas, and that blend, I think,
like it used to be, like
it's supposed to,
like
balance.
Like honestly, it was all over America when we were growing up in the 90s. Like that was the thing. Like everybody in the burbs had the dad that was like, fucking get your hippie friends out of here. And then you'd go to your friend's house in the city and they're like, do you guys want some pot? And you're like, yeah. Like that was literally the dynamic.
They didn't shove that shit in your face everywhere.
No, everybody just had their lane and everybody enjoyed being themselves.
And it was cool. You didn't go to fucking Dunkin' Donuts and buy a cup of coffee and have to talk about fucking Donald Trump or Joe Biden.
When you were at your buddy's house with a single dad, you got to eat fucking Stouffer's microwave lasagna. When you were at your fucking buddy's house who had a Southern mom, they had biscuits. When you were at your buddy's house who was Jamaican, they had fucking homemade fucking beef patties and sauce and shit. Like, you had kimchi at the Korean kid's house, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, oh, it's like kind of like cold slaw but spicy. And you're like, this is fucking amazing. And then you fart for 7 days. Like, you learn about each other, you figure each other out. You know what I mean? Like, but nowadays you can't even go. Like, I can't go to somebody's house and be like, why the fuck does your house? There was a kid named Z, and we called him Z because we could not pronounce his fucking name. And his parents had an Asian market or an Asian restaurant, I forget. And he was always like the kid who would be like running the Dungeons and Dragons games with the dorkier kids that we hung out with. And we'd go over to his house, and it would have always like a smell going on.
The Asian house
like,
smell.
What is going on there? And he'd be like, oh, they got duck necks soaking in the sink in vinegar. And it's like, well, all right. Fucking. And then his parents also didn't know there was a bunch of random little Spicks and crackers at his house. So every now and then it would be like, oh no, they're here. Get out. Everybody go at the back. And then everybody had a soda addiction because all of us would be over there. But it's like those kind of things, those kind of moments. My great-grandmother lived with us until I was like 11 or 12. And she treated all the ethnic kids that were visibly ethnic really nicely. But any kid who looked really English or Irish, she liked. But any like redheads she liked. But any kid who looked too English, she didn't like because her brother got captured by the English during like one of the world wars, and fucking was in jail. But they ended up being nice to him because he would like sing Italian songs for them, and they would feed him and shit because of that. And then she also didn't like Germans because they were no fun.
Oh.
When the Germans came, they stiff, they no move, they no eat, they stand still with the gun and no move. And for her, they were boring fucking people. Like, so those kind of things. So I'd have little Jamaican kid, little Asian kid, little Puerto Rican kid getting cursed at in Italian and fed by my great grandmother who just cooked a rabbit that was in my fucking backyard. You know what I mean? Like, and they got that. When my grandfather died in 2018, a kid that I went to elementary school with hit me up and was like, I'll never forget who taught me how to shake hands like a man. And I was like, God, I had no recollection of that. And it took me like right back to a moment of like 5th grade and remembering my grandfather being like, shake my fucking hand like a man, not like a fairy. Come on, hard. That's right. Like, and going like, wow, like that you don't get that with kids anymore. No. My grandfather would nut check kids. Like, be like point at the shirt, and when you look down your shirt, slap you in your nuts and be like, hey, water it or it's not going to grow. You'd be like, like you couldn't do that in a million years now. You know what I mean? Like, wow. I'm afraid to help a kid if they shit their pants. I don't want to fucking touch them. You know what I mean? Like, it's nowadays, like being a teacher too, it's like, you got to be wild too, where like you have probably so many protocols and different ways you're supposed to handle shit.
And you're a gym teacher. Like, they have to change, right?
Yeah, do they even have to change anymore?
Yeah. We have a female teacher. We got me and another guy, and with everything, like, I don't like going in the locker room while they're doing that, but
yeah,
got to, because the kid gets into a fight and gets his head cracked, and I get sued, and it's wild, man. We had a fight last year, and we're not really supposed to break up the fights, but you got to break up the fights sometimes. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's
like hockey.
Getting pummeled, you're gonna go. Your natural instinct is just to go in there and
help
make it stop. So somebody got a bone broken while we were breaking up the fight.
Oh.
The kid's got like 100 cameras recording us all. We did everything by the book. All our bosses, the police officer were like, "Yep, everything's good." They still try to sue.
Oh yeah.
The girl started the fight. It's ridiculous, and it's the way they do it now is they make these crazy lawsuits, and there's no merit for it. It doesn't matter. They put these crazy numbers out there, and they just get them to settle.
Yep.
And they don't want to get. The school districts don't want to get stuck in court doing all this, and if they do happen to lose, then there's this big story in the newspaper, school district not supervising or doing what they're supposed to do, so they just settle, so it goes away.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of the problems that we have are today, even in other stuff. Everything's about money. Everything's money driven, and you pay people to keep away bad publicity.
Once again, that I grew up in the epicenter of that.
Solved. They just keep perpetuating, and
yeah,
that's where a lot of stuff is right now.
That's why
the difference in mentality is so staggering, man. Like, I remember if I got in trouble at school, the first thing my mother would be like is, "What the fuck did you do?"
Yeah.
Like, I was immediately the guilty party. I remember a teacher. I definitely think he's still teaching. I remember a teacher like legit boxing a kid up in a science class. Like a dude who was like had a little Golden Gloves experience, who had become like a little bit of a chubby, like, you know, husky middle-aged guy, and this kid was like, "I'll fuck you up, I'll whoop your ass, bitch," and he was just like, "You want to get it? What's up? Let's go in this empty room real quick." And fucking just like you just heard like a couple like bop bop bop, and like fucking like, he wanted to be a man. He learned like that kind of shit should happen to some people.
Yeah,
it's important. You have to be checked. You have to be tempered. The iron has to get hammered out to become a sword. You know what I mean? To become a useful tool.
Yeah, I thought that like, because in the 80s when we were like little and you would watch movies and they would portray school like that, you know, like it was rough. You know,
yeah.
like shit
It's almost
happened.
like prison.
Exactly. So like starting school, I was like,
a microcosm of life, of humanity, right?
Yeah.
It happens in life, in the world, and we're not preparing these kids anymore for shit happening in the fucking world.
You had your little hierarchies going on.
So
there's a whole food chain.
So I thought that's how it was gonna be, but like I said, I come from like the epicenter of this bullshit. So like by the time I was in middle school, it was literally like the teachers would like yell at you for a second and they'd be like, "I'm sorry, please don't sue us." And I was like, "Oh, we can do whatever we want. This is not good."
They would give that to a kid who's even remotely smart.
Yeah.
And they know the game, and they run that shit.
This is literally 1994 in Northern California when I figured this shit out. That's 26 years ago. That's why California, if you want to see what the future of raising kids like this is, it's fucking California. And that is not good. That's, like I said, man, like, dude, it was like third grade they started doing the everybody gets a trophy. That was in the 80s, man. And then like in the 90s they started doing this whole like, nobody actually touched the kid. Because like my mom was she worked at the
I was a product of that with the Dr. Phil don't hit your kids.
No, the teachers could not. My mom got fired from the high school in our town because she broke up a fight, and all she did was this girl was getting ready to hit another girl, and she just caught her wrist, and she was like, "No, you're coming with me to the principal's office." And her going like this got her fired because she touched a student that was assaulting another student. Like,
yeah, I had to take a training class on how to properly
touch a student,
even though we did it all, but to learn the legal aspects of how to do it properly, how to write up the report correctly, and how to not get sued, but just having to do my job.
And all that shit's from like my town where I grew up, like not Stockton so much, but then like when we moved to like the really like rich town in Northern California, Rockland, fucking terrible place. Like it's just all rich people, and like I've said this before, there's like 15 full-size baseball fields, 2 Olympic swimming pools, 2 full-size football stadiums. There's like 2 soccer fields. There's like 2 full music studios for like the kids to go in, and the classrooms are just like small. Like it's all like it's
insane.
Yeah, it's like it's a multi-million-dollar high school, and like my mom worked there the first year they were building it all, and like literally the girl that she stopped from assaulting another girl was like, "Well, if you don't fire her, I'll sue the school." And they were like, "Sorry, lady, like you gotta go."
That's
like,
it. They see a dollar sign, and
California has been like I'll sue you for anything for decades, and then it just bled into school.
The high school I went to doesn't even physically exist anymore in the same incarnation. It was John I. Leonard High School, which was John Ireland Leonard, and fucking it. Like, there was an area behind the science and math building that would flood anytime it rained, and we called it Lake Leonard. And like, the deeper it would get, the more rats you'd see darting across it, swimming. Like, there was so many little, like, we had the keys to the theater, the band hallway, and the English building because we swiped them from a janitor. The drama teacher. We would shoot, you'd get like the keys to the supply closet to build sets and shit like that. And somebody, like a class or 2 above me, swiped them, copied them, and then they got passed down to somebody. And that lasted for like maybe 2 years before me and 2 years after me, until somebody got busted with them. There was a loft for storage, and we took the sets and we made fake walls and made little rooms where we would try and go back there and get pussy and shit like that. We were just fucking animals back then. We were also the last generation of the shower. Like, do they make the kids shower still, or is that optional?
It's optional. At least
your coach will throw you in the shower and be like, "You dirty fuck, get in there and shower up and smell like shit." Like that's gone. It's. I remember watching a dean fucking backhand a kid who spit at a fucking female teacher. He just like reactionarily was like, "Bah!" fucking like.
And he never did it again.
Well, I have a buddy who was a substitute teacher when I was like in my early to mid 20s when I was running a gym and still fighting and stuff. And this guy, a roommate of mine, was a substitute teacher, and he was still in college, and he was late all the time and shit too. He was a real fucking louse. But I remember he was fucking fired pretty quickly after eventually telling the kid, like, well, hey, fuck you, you little fuck. Like, he just like lost it one day and fucking told the kid off, and then he got put on like an administrative leave or whatever, suspension. And then eventually, like a couple of weeks later, they're like, yeah, we're gonna not have you back. Fucking and he was like fucked for a minute. But I just remember that being like, I was like, you can't even tell a kid to shut the fuck up anymore. Like, I remember teachers being like, I'll fucking end you. Like, I remember teachers like pulling you aside and being like, you wanna fucking go? What's up? Like, fucking, you want to do some shit? Like,
so I started in Northern California, and then like my mom moved me to Colorado, and it was like more normal, like what you're talking about. And then I was like, fuck you, I'm gonna go live with my dad in Martin County. And I fucking, like, dude, Martin County and Port St. Lucie, you are in prison when you're in school. And the fucking guards, the teachers, and the deans, they can do whatever they want to you in there. And that was like literally, like you said, I saw a teacher like backhand a kid, but then there wasn't any, I was like, oh shit, that guy's gonna get sued, they're gonna sue the school district. And the guy was like, hey, you're gonna do that shit again, are you? And the kid was like, no man, I'm good. But then that was it. There was no report. There was no nothing. A teacher in the middle of lunch outside saw a kid being a dick. I didn't even see the whole thing. The only thing we heard was a loud slap in the courtyard and a teacher standing over, like fucking fucking flexing over this kid, and he was just like, oh man. Like, and it was a white teacher in a primarily black school, and nobody fucked with him.
Drag out fights every fucking day, multiple times a day. The worst you see is a fucking full week suspension. That was like, somebody got hit, a teacher had to take a knee, got cracked. Like, they didn't get rid of nobody.
No, you came back.
There was my wife and I dated in high school. We were like fucking high school sweethearts and everything. We broke up in college and all that. But anyway, fucking in 9th grade, there was a fountain in the middle of the courtyard in our school. Somebody pushed my wife in it. She was wearing a white t-shirt. At the time, she was my girlfriend. And I went into the fucking cafeteria and went after the dude verbally and physically. I didn't even get in fucking trouble. There was a fight every fucking day. They had to land the fucking trauma hawk on our football field on a regular basis from fucking people
Fights.
getting box cuttered and shit. And that motherfucker, like, I think the only time I ever saw like real expulsion was the 2 kids that box cuttered people. Fucking one kid box cutter. That was one of those
9/11 them.
Well, people come from certain countries, man, where like if they say like, if you say like, I'm gonna fuck you up or I'm gonna kill you, they don't take it euphemistically, and like, they're like, he say he is going to kill me. I must take care of this before he gets me. I will get him in the hallway. And it's like, you can't say that to that guy. He's from a place where if somebody says they're gonna kill you, they might fucking kill you.
They're serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't mean like at 3 o'clock I'm gonna make you eat a mound of dirt and the fucking no, man. He means like, so there was that like crossover of people from, you know, the third world, people from Central and South America, people from Africa, people from the Caribbean.
The Russians that I was friends with in Colorado. The Russians that I was friends with in Colorado, they were like I made friends with them and everybody thought they were nerds, and one day a couple of the football guys were like, all right, man, like, give us all your shit. And I was like, just getting around. I was like, all right. And my friend was like, no, you did not give him anything. And they're like, oh, you want to go, you fucking Russian motherfucker? And this is like the 90s, so people weren't like, ooh, Russians are scary. And it was this
like
kid.
Fucking Wolverine.
Right? Dude, and it was just this high school kid. He's like, these are not men. I have beat up men. And I was like, okay. And he just fucking, he didn't like just beat them up like, you know, in high school, like, okay, we're done fighting. He got it. He didn't get expelled, but he got suspended for a month because when they were down, he was like, ugh, ugh, ugh. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, they will not come after us again. And then he just goes back to like fucking pounding on him. I was just like, all right, well, I'm glad he's my friend. Like, holy shit.
Story, Tommy Donuts cheek story.
Yeah, where he bit the. Oh God, yes.
So one of my.
Never again. Which, by the way, Tom Meets It will be back this weekend. Woo.
But one of my oldest friends, one of my best friends, we were friends in junior high, and these kids confronted us getting ready to fight, and we were outnumbered. And as we were preparing to like get ready to fight, out of nowhere comes my buddy and just jumps on this kid and bites into his cheek and pulls like a chunk of cheek off. And nobody wanted to fight after that. Nobody fought for a minute.
Nobody messes with the crazy kid.
No.
I saw a kid working at a fucking Domino's years later with a fucking
scar.
He really bit the fuck out of, like, bit of blood. Like, I'm talking like Robert De Niro, Cape Fear, fucking like bite the fucking piece of this dude's face off. And everybody was just like, we lost the stomach for war, baby. Let's all go home and see our moms.
This is what real shit is. Yeah, man. That's once somebody sees like the real shit, that's like and where I lived in Colorado wasn't like a poor spot, but it wasn't like a rich spot. It was like just that middle class of the 90s. So like I don't think those kids had ever seen like the kid from Russia. He had only lived there for like a year. But he was like very good in English, and he's like, like when it would snow, he was the only kid walking in like flip flops and a tank top. And he's like, this is not real cold, and we're like, it's pretty cold. And he's like, no, it's not real cold. Like, and he didn't look jacked, but like he was fucking made of like fucking iron. Like it didn't matter. Like when he, dude,
that third world muscle,
dude, those kids hit him, and he was just like that. You hit like a child. Like he didn't say that, but I could see he was just like
blood sport.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, these kids are like they have muscles, but they don't know how to hit. And then when his little skinny arm like hit each one of them for the first time, they had this look in their eye like I fucked up, like, and now they can't move because he just fucking stunned them both to the ground. And like I said, he was just standing over them. Like there was this hallway of lockers in between like two of the big buildings, and that's where they like confronted us. And I was just standing there, like, holding both of our bags like a woman, like, oh my God, right? And then they weren't deans, but, like, the vice principals just show up, and they're like, oh my God, like, you're like, killing the star football players. And he's like, they hit me first. Like,
I always wonder about kids like that who are legit savages so young. There was a kid named Peanut. His name was Peanut. Everybody called him Peanut. I wish I remember what his fucking real name was. And he had an older brother who was kicking it with this girl who was a different legend in a different way. Supposedly
like
she lost a hot dog in herself at one point in time.
Like Kevin and I's mutual friend.
Fucking this girl. But anyway, this kid
she's coming on the show next week.
Oh, I hope so.
But this kid Peanut was cool, but he was like a real street kid. Like he was a real like tough fucking kid, and you know how, like, when you're a kid, especially, you get a vibe off of somebody and you don't quite understand, you don't have the maturity to recognize, like, this kid's he's nice to me, we're friends when we play basketball or whatever, but he is a fucking animal. He'll fuck somebody's life up, change somebody's quality of life. And I remember...
I didn't know this about my Russian friend, because we played video games.
Boxing. And you know, like, you learn about, like, physical inequality, right?
Yes.
Like you learn that like, oh, I'm different than some guys, I'm harder than some guys and softer than others, just on a physical what I'm made of level, like my stuff level. And like this kid was one of those dudes who like if you were oblivious, if you didn't grow up anywhere around that world, you might not have seen it, but like there was an air about him where it was like he's not worried about shit. Like I'm not worried about this motherfucker. And I remember walking to school, and this was right after my first, might have been my second body that I saw. Cumberland Farms on Kirk Road and fucking Forest Hill, right by, it used to be Jeff Davis Middle School, now it's Palm Springs Middle School. But that guy got, I think, somewhere around 22 stab wounds and 11 gunshot wounds, something like that, something crazy. And I remember walking to school and seeing a big crowd and thinking it was a fight and like running up and like pushing through to get to the front to see the fight, and then being like, ooh. Like, he fucking immediately like, get the fuck out of there. But so it was like high alert, like cops were around and shit at this time because that had happened recently. And there was a kid who was like a junior in high school, I want to say, who was like kind of a losery kid, but like I just remember him coming to the junior high during the time everybody's walking to school and being like, fuck y'all kids, and like head faking people and shit, and like just like trying to punk people on the walk in. And I remember we passed him, we seen Peanut by the gate as we're walking in. He's like, that dude fuck with y'all? And we were like, nah, he's just talking shit to everybody. And he was like, man, fuck that dude. And like he was like, the dude was like, man, you say fuck me, fuck you, and then they started like barking through the fence, and then all of a sudden Peanut's like, man, I'll be right back, and he just walked around the fence, walked out and saw dude, and then just worked dude's shit for like a quick minute and a half of like just a vicious, and like stomped his head, like beat the fuck out of him. And that's the first time I ever saw anybody get expelled, and he wasn't even on school property. He wasn't even fucking beating up somebody at the school, but he whooped this dude's ass so badly, and he was just black enough and just hood enough that they were like, we gotta get him the fuck out of here. Like fucking like if he would have had parents who were like super involved in his life, or like would have said like, we're getting a lawyer. He wasn't even on school property. He was defending himself and his friends. This was an older kid. If he would have had anybody in his life, they probably would have been like backpedaled off.
Yeah, he would have been back the next week.
But home dude was expelled, and then he was around for a while, and you could buy like nickel bags off of him and shit. And then after a while, you just didn't see that motherfucker no more. So like, but I remember kids like that. There was a kid named Thomas, but it was like spelled Tomas. And I think his last name was Abru, and he was just like a physically like fucking strong ass kid. There was another dude named John Stacy who was built like a grown ass man. He was like half Native American, and he was just like Big John Stacy. Like he was like a fucking folktale. Like
he had a song that played when he walked in the room.
Dude, he was like 6'2", 230 pounds in fucking 7th grade. Okay, and he boxed as well. And he was one of those kids where it's like, oh, you're pairing up with Johnson, and it's like, all right.
I hope I don't die.
But you learn a lot. But you know, you learn not how to die.
It's
like
painful.
Though I wonder about those guys too, where it's like, man, like, or I wonder about the kids, and I'm sure you see some of them now too, where it's like, this kid is like really weirdly mature, like very fucking, you know, calm and cool and at ease with. I wanted
to get to that actually, because you and I have talked about this, Andrew. The age range, what they're like 16 to like 24 now, or 20. They're like 21 to like 13 or something like that. They have the highest IQ of any generation in the history of the planet of humans, and they're the most center generation ever. But by the left, they're considered the most conservative generation. But I was going to ask, Kevin, have you seen any of those kids? Like, I know it's harder to find that here, but like this is a worldwide phenomenon that every single person between that age range of like 13 to 21 starts off with a genius, what would be considered a genius level IQ, and then whether or not they carry it through, you know, to adulthood is up to them.
Shit, man. A lot of the kids that I see, they got street smarts. A lot of street smarts.
I think that's better than like. I think that's from like that general. Like you're born smarter.
Yeah.
Thing.
So you got the street smarts and you got critical thinking skills in that.
Yeah.
Some of them shine more than others. I see a lot of kids that are probably because they mix the street smarts with the book smarts, and that combination is definitely going to set them. I always say, because these kids are also super entitled. Yeah. And it goes back to participation trophies. Their parents just, instead of saying no, they just give them whatever, or their parents don't want to be parents and they give them an iPad, and that is how they're raised. They're raised with electronics and stuff like that. But every once in a while I see these kids that are just like, you see they got it. And you see just the way they talk to adults, and the way, and it's also it's an experience thing, and it's you get late bloomers and stuff like that.
Are you seeing more of those kids though, or less?
I would say less.
Okay, that's not good. Yeah. Well, that you're outside of that generation that I was talking about.
I think I'm out. The demographic and the population that I see it's there. Mm-hmm. It's there. Maybe I don't see them in my classes as opposed to some of these others, and they track them in different ways. But one thing that I do see that gives me like a little bit of hope of all the wild stuff that I see at my school is we get some of these kids that they do think and they do pick up on stuff that's going around, and when something is bullshit, they're gonna call you out on it real fucking fast. And that's
like me growing up. Like
That
I
makes
tell
me
people, I tell a lot of people, the way I talk to people on the internet is how I talk in real life, and I've talked that way. Like I said, when I was in 3rd grade, I was like, they didn't do shit. They don't deserve a trophy. Like I've talked like that forever.
Yeah.
And I've been hit a lot growing up for just being like, nope, no. Just because you're an adult, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
but a lot of these kids, and maybe it's they just don't like, they're lazy, they don't do stuff. But a lot of them, it's they don't. What they're being told and what they're being taught doesn't make sense to them, because a lot of the stuff that is being taught is just to fit in some kind of cookie cutter. A lot of it's for a test. They got to take a test. Yeah. Schools are run by tests. There's a shit ton of money from federal government down to state for a test, and that's how they're being taught, and they have been for the last 15-20 years. And we're just now seeing like, oh, this isn't working.
We went the private school route for that very reason.
Yeah. And that's why you're gonna they're not teaching them critical thinking skills, they're teaching them test skills.
Yeah.
And a lot of these,
we're real pleased because we're seeing like she's going to like a coding class. She's learning like, you know what I mean? They're not doing Common Core and shit like that. Like there's like a lot of little things that we're like, man, fuck. Like we're public school kids. You know what I mean? We were I was the last class that you could get all F's all year and then average a passing grade with your exams. Like we were the last class with like actual exams before standardized testing. And I remember like my younger siblings being constantly like stressed out because it was a new test every couple of weeks or whatever it was. Whereas like for us, it was like exams every semester, average that with your grade, you made it or you don't, move on. You know what I mean? Like very, very weird how that's shifted over the last bit.
So I talk a lot of shit about California being the epicenter of a lot of crap. One of the good things though is like public and private schools, like you can't tell the difference in education level from where I'm from, because like we didn't think of the standardized test, like the standardized testing wasn't looming over us. Like, oh no, that's this thing that we have to prepare for. To us, it was a week off of regular school.
Oh,
like
that's how it was for me. I never.
Dude.
And looking back and as an adult, I was like, wow, I wonder how I did on those fucking tests.
They would always tell us, and here's the crazy thing: from like 6th grade up, if you didn't get 13 plus on all of the categories, which is college level, they would pull you aside and be like, hey, are you okay? Like, do we need to like teach you something? Like from 6th grade up in California for the I started 9th grade, yeah. So for like 3 years of school, like if you didn't get college level on every single test, you were pulled aside into like remedial classes and shit. It was just real weird. Like there's just the expectation was that you were gonna test in college level, but like it wasn't like they weren't preparing you. They were like the teachers are just so good. Like the curriculum is just so good at, like you said, teaching critical thinking, which is honestly what the standardized testings are. And the thing that's really weird is that they're set up to teach you to test your critical thinking skills. And if you're teaching kids how to pass the test, you're not teaching them without teaching them critical thinking skills and just preparing for the test, they're automatically going to score poorly, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like,
no, it's
the most backwards thing.
Yeah, and studies are now starting to see that, but a lot more goes into it. You got these, because a lot of the kids have this kind of same mindset that like if something doesn't make sense to them, and if something seems off, they're gonna call you out on it. But kids do it in different ways. You got the kids that are gonna be like, okay, hold up real quick, let's break this down and figure out why this doesn't make sense. Then you got the other kids that are just like, fuck this shit.
Yeah. Why are letters in my math?
They don't know how to express themselves correctly. And a lot of that goes back to just experience and home life and not seeing grown-ups express themselves correctly. And that's a lot of the stuff that we're seeing. One thing I was thinking about earlier is that generation of the participation trophies and the, oh, well, we don't want to push you too hard because we don't want to stress you out and stuff like that. Those people are becoming adults now, and we're starting to see it on a grander scale, and we're seeing it with these people that are like, oh, well, I don't like society, so I'm throwing a fucking hissy fit about it, and I'm being an asshole about it. And then you got these, what do they call them, incels or whatever like that?
Yeah.
Where they haven't figured out how to go out and get laid, so they go out and fucking are raping people and fucking shooting up fucking stores and stuff like that because they can't get their fucking dick wet. And this is, I think, is the byproduct of the, okay, well, you tried kind of hard, so we're going to give you whatever the reward was anyways. The same reward as the guy that went out and busted his ass and did everything behind the scenes that he was supposed to do. You guys are going to get the same reward. And then when you get to real life experience, or the level in life where you like actually have to be better than your competition, and you start failing, this is detrimental to these people, and they don't know how to live. And we're starting to see that.
Learning to lose is so important. Look,
oh yeah,
my wife and I, like I said, we got a Switch for the kid. We got like this little tennis video game, and there's like a dance video game, all that kind of shit. My wife will smoke my daughter in the dance video game. And when my daughter gets upset, my wife will be like, fucking dance better, bro. Yeah. And then time goes on, and I'm playing the tennis game with my kid and lighting her shit up, and she got kind of good at it. And my wife's like, oh, I'll jump on tennis with you. And my daughter fucking hems my wife up and is like, guess you got to get better, mom. Like, fucking tighten it up. And it's like, yes, that's what the fuck. You're supposed to be able to bask in your victory. And you're supposed to be able to learn in your defeat. And like,
absolutely,
we want her to be a good, not be a sore winner also. So we've taught her like she can trash talk with us at home because we have fun doing it. But in real life, you have to be a good sport, that kind of thing. But like, my English friends that I mentioned before, we really like them because they take the same kind of time with their kids, and they make the same kind of considerations. And when our kids have kid shit happen between them, we like let them work it out. We let them figure it out. If they're in a little tussle over a toy, let them tussle for a minute before we intervene. Like, and we love them in part because they're so much like us in that way, and we don't see a lot of our other peers taking that same tact with their kids, where it's like they're over them at all times.
And you gotta let them learn.
Let my kid eat shit on her bike, man. Like, and then when she falls and she cries, I go like, pick yourself up. My neighbor across the street, he was like, man, I got to get with some of that Cuban love for my boys because I'll be picking them up. And I'm like, dude, you got to if I see she's not hurt, like if she's not injured, she's just hurt, like fucking be hurt for a minute. Be okay with it, because there's one day that I'm not going to be there to dust you off. You're going to have to dust yourself off. And it's an imperative skill. It's an imperative.
And we've gone away from it, but you can't just pinpoint one area of the kids or the learner's life where you got to focus on it. It's not just school. It's not just home. It's a little bit everything.
Yeah.
And even the stuff that we're seeing just in media and social media and stuff like that. It's Dude. You see it all the time with TikTok and stuff like that. Something doesn't go somebody's way, they flip the fuck out and cry like a little baby, and that's the norm now.
Dude, I remember
so happy that as a kid of like 12 to like 17 years old, I did not have video logging all of my stupid fucking decisions and feelings, because there's a couple home videos that I've seen from my childhood where I'm like, get that the fuck off. I feel so, and that's another reason that I'm not giving my daughter a phone up until a certain age, and I'm not allowing her to be on social media up until a certain age, because I don't want her to regret. That's another thing too. If you have a girl who gets caught getting finger banged in the cafeteria, she's the finger bang girl for high school.
Forever.
Okay.
Forever.
Exactly.
She's gonna run into somebody at a grocery store when she's like 30 years old, and they're gonna be going finger bang girl.
And be like, you the finger bro. Like, if you shit your pants when you're in 6th grade, you're gonna have a long time of being shit pants. It's just what it is.
You got to move to another state when you're old.
I see that, bro. I see that with the online bullying and shit. That's the other thing too. You came home, your bully wasn't at home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
My
yeah.
kid's not gonna have a fucking Facebook, man. And if there comes a point where she can negotiate herself to having social media access, it's gonna be like, yeah, you get 10 minutes a day if you've done all your homework or whatever it is. Because I think it's destructive to a kid, man. I think there was a point in time where like you had to be alone in here.
Yeah.
And we don't even do that as much as we should anymore, like as adults.
And it's not even just the kids anymore, it's the grown-ups. There's a theory, I remember learning about it when I was taking some school classes. It's called the SpongeBob syndrome. And basically they've been seeing it, and it's, I don't know, they started studying probably 10 years ago, when like a whole generation of kids that kind of started using all this technology in school and iPads and the little VTech learning devices and stuff like that. And just in those devices, there's so much stimulus coming at your brain in all the videos and the colors and the noise and just all that when you go back away from that in real world and just people are talking to you, it's not enough stimulus to keep your attention. And it's not enough stimulus to keep your brain activated to actually comprehend and learn stuff. And that's where we're seeing problems when these kids, technology, and we're pushing all this technology on these kids. And then when we want them to learn from actual people, their brains can't, it's not even their fault. Their brains can't even comprehend the information that's going to them. And that's where
So the people that created that created that weird culture of like just sensory overload, right? They took over the internet, and that really upsets me because, like, going back to the bowling thing, I switched over immediately to video games, and like we were talking about before, the older video games, like the computer isn't like, oh, you did okay, you got second. It's like, no, fuck you, you lost, try again. You suck, loser. Like screens like that.
We've both seen each other have that moment of detachment the minute that somebody starts talking shit about the thing that we know. Like,
yes,
I've watched you do it when somebody like says what site they use for research or like things like that, where it's like, okay, I'm no longer invested in this conversation. Like Mike fucking powers down. And it's the same thing with me when Mike's seen me with somebody talking about some bullshit about martial arts or about their like what they do, their style, their this or that, and watch me be like, I hate this person now. I can't help that. Like fucking there's nothing I can do about it. I feel inside.
And I'm just like, I'm sorry.
Well, it's like,
but
you have those things.
You know, so then like going further into that, like so like the internet, like I was one of the few kids that had internet like in the 90s, like where it was just in my house. It was in my room. Like, and the original internet is like message boards, right? And like you'd have to dive deep for facts and stuff. And that's the only internet I ever knew until like 2008. Then all of a sudden everybody had the internet right here, or what they thought was the internet, right? And then Facebook and social media places started like dominating. Like Facebook takes up 80% of the internet, which is atrocious. It's really like Andrew said, this is my home. You know, like I've been here since the beginning of the modern internet. This is my home, man. And like to see, and it used to be like video games. Like you said something.
You're like they moved in.
They fucking yeah, dude.
Facebook
it was fucking. But it was like you said, being on the internet was like being in a room with your uncles, where if you said something stupid, literally 100 people would be like, you're fucking dumb, and then post
checks and balances.
Yes.
You didn't have too many deer because you had wolves, and you didn't have too many wolves because farmers shot the wolves if they got on their property, and you didn't have too many farmers because farming is hard fucking life. Like there's natural checks and balances.
It's just nature.
And now
nature.
I say this all the time. We have circumvented Darwin. and it's gonna come back and bite us hard as fuck. Because let me tell you something. We started small. Your appendix burst. Oh, we fix you. You're okay. You'll be here. You need a stint. We fix you. We started in those ways.
See.
Yeah, we started
glasses. I shouldn't survive.
Right.
You should be running into walls and concussions.
I should be the blind.
Pawing around a field to try and find a yam until something eats your ass.
I actually shouldn't even have made it that far. A saber-toothed tiger could have just come downwind in my fucking. I've got asthma, so my throat just closes up. I'm dead as a child. Like, that's it, man.
And so that's the thing, right? Like, we've circumvented that over and over and over again. Now to the point where we shield people from we protect their ideas. We protect their.
That's what I'm saying.
Process. We protect their we protect every little thing where it's like we all don't deserve protection. Not everything deserves protection. Yeah. Not everything deserves to be.
This is one
impervious to doubt or to scrutiny or to speculation. Like, that's what's happening. We're not allowed to question people anymore. If you're a certain person, you get to just talk, but it's like no. Like, you should actually be a person of substance to get to speak. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter anything but the content of what you're fucking having to say. It shouldn't matter what group you speak from or whatever. If you're, interdimensional Polak or whatever the fuck, like you recognize whatever your label is, your moniker.
The labels.
Nuts.
Yeah, that's the thing that, like, now I remember at the beginning of the internet, you could say every slur in every language, and it didn't matter if where you were at was being run by like a corporation or like it was like a fucking just random message board that some kid hosted off of his fucking server that he made at home, right? Nothing would happen to you. Now, if you're talking to somebody the way you normally talk and you call everybody dude, regardless if they're a guy or a girl or whatever they are, like, you can get permanently banned from Facebook for like saying, "Come on, dude." I had a
conversation with Tom today about this. We were having lunch together with Tom from the sensational show Tom Eats It. Get ready for him this weekend to eat a box full of clam-flavored candy canes. That's right, clamdy canes.
What did he do last time?
Wasn't it the 3 Carolina Reapers?
Was it 4?
Yeah. 4.
Right?
Was it 4?
Yeah, because I think he was on...
Shit. So we're going to do the clamdy canes to see how that goes with a non-spicy little challenge, and then we're going to go to another challenge that he tried to beat before but couldn't, called Satan's Toe. I got to send you some video about the first time, Mike, so you can put that up in the intro to that episode. But anyway, we're talking about that today, and we're talking about the gender thing, because Tom is like a dude who is like very filterless. He goes right from, that's how you know he's such a good person, because he really cares.
Brain to mouth.
Yeah, and
I love him. He's a cool dude. Yeah,
he's a sweetheart, and he was like concerned about the gender thing. We were like watching a video where somebody was getting upset about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know if he's like, I don't want to fuck up anybody's thing." And it's like, well, to me, it's like if I call somebody sir and they're a ma'am, and they're like, yeah, actually, I prefer to be called ma'am if that's what my preferred pronoun. I'd actually be like, okay, cool, I'll call you ma'am. Like, forgive me if I fuck up the first couple of times. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But if you scream at me, regardless of what the message that you're trying to get across, I'm probably gonna be like, hey, fuck you, bud. Like,
you're not going to take it serious.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And you're going to go like, now, wait, are you trying to get me to speak to you a certain way? Or are you trying to be my enemy? The message becomes muddled. And then you talk about like these cultural things that we're supposed to like adhere to. Like, I come from Cuban people. You start yelling in my face and you get within a certain range, like there's contact that's going to instigate. And that's the other thing too, where it's like, if you grew up in a Latin area, if you grew up in a poor area, if you grew up in a fucking all black area that was impoverished, to all white trailer park, like, people go hands on quicker. People from the hood go hands on quicker. So all this like yelling and like grandstanding, you can only have that in a certain socioeconomic bracket.
Yeah.
People are gonna stand for that shit, because if you like, look, where I grew up in my late teens in Miramar, which is like the hood outside of the hood. It wasn't even like the gangsterest of spots in South Florida. It's like near Carroll City, but it ain't Carroll City, where my younger brothers went to high school and shit like that. That area, if you started yelling at somebody in the street or yelling about some cause in the street, somebody might come try to fight you just because they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, fuck these bitch ass motherfuckers. I'm gonna go fight all of them, or let me just drive up and shoot them with paintballs, or let me just shoot them with real bullets. Like, and that's not even like the hardest hood in Florida, but it's hood enough.
You know what?
Like, those kids don't come from that place.
Yeah.
These kids don't come from fucking colleges where they have the money to go to Ivy League shit or sub-Ivy League shit. People from my neck of the woods, they don't give a fuck about that shit because they're hustling. They don't give a fuck about your pronoun because they're hustling. And if they got a gay uncle, they call him Uncle Auntie or whatever the fuck, or Tio Tia, and they fucking go on with their fucking business and they love them the same. But
you had to like. So I dealt with so many people like that, like you're describing, like me, right? And I'd only ever seen, like, as an adult in Florida the last 15 years, dealt with those people where if like shit goes down, they're like, hey Mike, you might want to get out of here, and I'm like, heard, like you're like there, like somebody's gonna die, somebody's going to the hospital, somebody's getting fucked up, to the point where like when one of those kids that you were talking about, right, that grew up in that certain income bracket was like threatening me, I was like, oh Andrew, I think this guy's gonna fucking like shoot me or something, and you're like, no man, that guy ain't shit. And I was like, and then like when you explained it like that to me, I was like, oh yeah, I've been dealing with real people for so long that when one of those people threatens me, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm really being threatened. Oh no. But yeah, man, it's funny too though. Once you like got that,
real killer, man, there's not gonna be no threats.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
It's not gonna be like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that to you. Like I grew up around real killers where it's like if they really want to fuck you up, they're
you
not
didn't know.
Like a criminal, they're interested in getting away with crime.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll never see me talk about on this podcast or on Facebook or I'm gonna fuck somebody up or do this or do that to somebody. Because if it comes down to a court case, I don't want anything out there.
No evidence.
I'll tell you what else. It's one of those things too where like all that pomp, all that buildup, all that extra circumstance that gets created around all that shit, it comes from a certain kind of mentality. It's like, look, you want to talk about like real people of color, the poor people of the world that people like to think are all black and Spanish? Dude, we're hustling.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in a fucking neighborhood of people who didn't have shit. I grew up with refugee dad and fucking Italian American mom who came from like Guineas that came over just a generation before her. Like there was no question about any of that. And all your feelings is like, okay, yeah, great. Did you finish your fucking work? When I was 14 years old, my whole family, every day after school, we would go to clean office buildings. And on the weekends, I would do side jobs with my stepdad, fix fucking ceiling tiles or put in a pipe. You can't worry about your fucking pronoun. You know what I mean? And I feel for people. I have people that I've known for like a long time who are transgender, and I feel for them with the struggle they have to go to become comfortable in their skin. I'm actually sick of the people who are not really struggling with that thing of getting comfortable in your skin, but love to like attach themselves. It's the same thing was happening to the people who are really angry and want police reform and want black people to be treated differently in their neighborhoods by police. They're getting co-opted by these other fucking people who attach themselves to that kind of movement and think that because their whole lives, everything that they've said and done has mattered to a small subsect of people, that they're going to attach themselves to this important thing, and they become the loudest voice of every fucking body.
Yep.
And then they ruin the message of the actual people on that struggle.
And they become the ones that are going and burning down fucking
shit up, bro.
Yeah.
Burger
King and
who are just a white dude who've told me that they go by a fucking certain pronoun, when I actually know people who are trans people who like are not super open with their origins, who are just trying to be a person in the fucking world.
Person.
Yeah.
A person.
And
an
not
actual
giving a
person
fuck
and
about their
not
pronoun
just
shit unless it's being like somebody being offensive to them. And like I don't know them super well, but it's like people I went to school with, shit like that, and I see them just trying to be a person in the world. I don't see them at a parade or in activism. They're open and vocal and proud of themselves and who they are, but they're not, it's like the real people on that struggle, real black people in the hood who are being mistreated by police officers. You think they're going to that protest and screaming at cops in their face? People who have experienced real shit from the police are not going to where the fucking police are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That shit.
Absolutely.
It blows my fucking mind. Like I know people who are like hood gangster ass people from the day who still fucking kick weed and shit back in the old neighborhood and all that kind of shit, they're not going to where the police are. Never, ever, ever. And those are the people who have got their head kicked in by the fucking cops that I know. You know what I'm saying?
How did you, Kevin, how did you grow up? Because I don't know if it's like similar to like how like Doug and I, you know Doug, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Doug and I have, dude, Doug and I have like a very similar upbringing, which is why, like, I'm glad that Doug and I could give some perspective to like how the kids were like talking about
in that little world.
Yeah, because like he was talking about the coming of age thing, and we were like, the coming of age thing for us was like listening to Brand New and crying while like some girl like broke your heart. And then Andrew was like, well, is it like similar like to like losing a parent or whatever? And we both in unison were like, no, it is like there is no comparison to the struggle of like how we grew up versus like the struggle of how Andrew grew up, you know? So like
I grew up, I mean, my mom was a teacher, my dad was a social worker, very average middle class. Just the neighborhood was kind of mixed, and went to public school where it was kind of half black, half white, and everybody had their own little. It was weird. It wasn't kind of like how it is, how they portray it today, how there's just black America versus white America and stuff like that. It was like you had your own identity, but it all just mixed together.
Yeah.
The
That's how it
melting
was.
pot and all that. Like you did your white things, black folks did their black things, but like at the end of the day, you're a person. And we all do the same thing. We all eat. We all have to do this to stay alive. And at the end of the day, you're just a person. And that's just how it is. And that stuff just gets thrown out the window. And
I feel like everybody in our generation has a similar feeling where it's like, we all wished Uncle Phil were our dad. We all thought Tupac was speaking the truth. Like we all, there was not those color lines that seem to be so pervasive now, where back when we were kids, it was like everybody on your block could be your friend. It didn't matter, none of that shit. We didn't think politically as children.
Exactly.
You were just there.
And we
You
were
were just there, and it just, everybody was, you were people surrounded by people. It didn't matter what they were. I mean, every once in a while some dumb shit would happen, but then it goes back to the checks and balances things. Like if people said shit out of line, somebody would step in and be like, yo, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Like you want everybody to be able to speak so you know who the idiot is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And now like, so you know, that goes back to like though, like I everybody from Northern California talks exactly like I do. Like it's really fucking weird. We all have like the same cadence, the same way. Yeah. So like, I honestly thought, because all the black kids that I met, like I thought like BET and shit was like fake, and like gangster movies were like fake, because I was like, I know many black people and they speak exactly like I do. This is strange to me, you know, like
you meet Asians in San Francisco, and then you meet Asians in like Chinatown in New York. Different Asians.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, have you been to the Stinking Rose? It's amazing. That's an Asian person in San Francisco.
Yes.
And an Asian dude in fucking New York doesn't even speak Mandarin because he's from Fuzhou, and he speaks a specific dialect of Chinese, and he's telling you to go fuck yourself while he eats your fried rice with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Yeah. And pull up a tank top up to his nipples and fucking little flip-flops in the kitchen. Like, it's different. But it's like Cubans in Miami are a different Cuban than the Cubans in Cuba. It's a different...
Yeah. But the thing like that you said is like, so I feel like we're all like, what year were you born, Kevin?
87.
87? Dude, you're like real, like you're rare, because I feel like the kids that are born like after 86 are like the problem, you know what I mean? Like for some reason, it's that specific age group. If you're on the lower
side of the middle class bracket though, I think, if you're just at the middle or lower, you know what I mean? I feel like there's a social component.
No. For some reason, I've been noticing like 86 to like 1990 is like the real loud year. Like those are the loud people that you see. And for some reason, I feel like 85 to 80, we were like the golden generation. Like you were saying, like that we didn't know what racism was.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, do you have any older siblings?
No, I'm the oldest.
Oh, interesting.
That's why I said, like, he's real unique though. Like, and well, I mean, not so much so, because I feel like there's a lot of
just kept you fucking humble, dude. That's like,
I don't know. I mean, I had friends that had the big ass houses, and then I also had friends that didn't. But it, I mean, that I don't know, maybe I was raised right. Maybe I had the right people around me. Maybe
sounds like
I don't know. I don't know where who knows where the lines get drawn and what experiences change the course of your life.
It sounds like you, like, well, also too, like, you grew up in Ohio, and I feel like Ohio is more like of a, regardless of what the political leaning is, like, everybody works for everything that they have there. I feel like that's that kind of state.
Very blue collar.
Yeah.
And
well, even if you, I mean, even if you have, like, even if, like, I feel like that's one of the few places in the Midwest, or like wherever it is, you know, like the Northeast, Mid-East or whatever.
I never understood why they called it the Midwest.
Yeah, I know, because, like, it's literally on the East. It's East Coast time. Anyway.
Yeah, we're right next door to Pennsylvania.
Right, and that's definitely East. But
and people from the East Coast don't know that.
Like, Ohio was always like the corridor. Like, that's like
but no, it's east of the.
Ohio, you're in the Midwest.
It's east of the Twin Cities, which is like the gateway to the West. It's east of that. So
I'll meet people from New York and they'll be like, Ohio, where the fuck is that? And I'm
like, it's right here.
States over from
it's right here, motherfucker.
Jerk off.
But
we're fucking neighbors.
But yeah, it has a Midwest vibe where even the people that were like handed stuff, like their parents were still like.
Rochester has a similar vibe like that.
Yeah.
Like that, like steel worker fucking vibe.
Yeah.
You know?
But even the people that, like, their kids are set up, they don't need to work. They still make their kids work, and that's like maybe that's why it's still considered the Midwest, because that's like a very Midwest vibe. It's like, listen, we're millionaires because we run this farm, but, like, we're only millionaires because you're gonna have to do the work and run this farm too. Yeah, you can't just not do anything.
You earn your seat.
Yeah,
exactly.
Even if it's, I feel like even people that are like executives for like bigger companies in Ohio, they still make their kids work. Or they used to, like when you were growing up, you know? Which I feel like makes it an outlier for... it is an eastern state.
Yeah. No,
you know?
I mean, I started working... Shit, I had a paper route when I was like 10, 11 years old. Got my first real job when I was allowed to legally when I was 14. And shit, I was working 2 jobs in high school.
Yeah, man.
I think so pivotal. Like, so the other day... I got a shelving unit, like a small little 3 foot tall, like 4-shelf unit for books and shit for my daughter's room. Anytime I get something like that, I make her turn every screw. I make her tap every nail. And, like, because for me, every weekend, there was no, like, what am I going to go do? I had either boxing or taekwondo when I was a little kid. And then if I wasn't doing that, I was going with my stepdad to do side jobs. He worked as a maintenance man in a nursing home, so he would go to, like, old people's houses and fix their shit and do all kind of shit like that. And then when I got old enough, I think I was 13, I got a job in a pet store, fucking cleaning fish tanks and cleaning bird cages and feeding snakes and shit. And now it was like, oh, you want to have money? Like, you gotta get a fucking job. Like, we don't have extra money. We don't have no extra. Like, if my mom gave me $20, it was like an amazing fucking windfall. Like, that kind of shit, I think, forms your personality to realize, like, oh, I'm not owed a fucking thing, man.
Yeah,
and then
that's such a huge just quality to have, just resiliency and just the mindset that, like, you're not owed shit. Because one day all the people that are hand feeding you shit could disappear. What the fuck are you gonna do?
So
my grandfather used to say, every day you get up in the morning and you put on your pants, you're the only one that's putting them on for you. Yeah. Everybody else is putting on their fucking pants for their own fucking reasons, and none of them are for you. And, like...
So when I was in Eastern Europe on my family's money, I actually had people put my pants on for me. It was kind of nice. But that's how I was raised. I think...
putting them on you for them. They were putting them on, or for you. They were putting them on you.
Oh no, they were putting. Yeah, that's true. They were putting me out. They were putting them on me because I'd give them $5. It was like $1,000 to them.
Eat it.
Yeah.
Eat it.
Yeah.
For
So,
fucking money.
yo, dude. So like, you guys like grew up like you're supposed to. I did not grow up like that. I had to like this is I think why Doug and I like connect so much on how we were raised, because we both had to have like that fall, and then like our family going like, nope, that's it. You got to do it on your own. And
that's, I don't know,
dude,
you see that a lot in the South Florida treatment recovery
thing
is that's why people struggle. And I have a family member that's like was fucking just never heard no and was always, and like he's struggling with trying to just live life the way you're supposed to live life.
It's rough for a couple years.
And it's and the learning curve is crazy.
You know what's crazy too is like I always connected with people that like had to really be an adult, even when I was getting, you know, like spoon fed everything, like a house and cars and shit. Like, because even though I led that life, like I said, I would always like question shit. I'm like, this doesn't make sense, you know, like, and just get hit a lot for just asking questions. And I could tell those people, they weren't leeching off of me like other people that grew up in like similar situations but didn't have the same money as I did. Like, and I all I really wanted was like genuine friendship and like genuine connections with people. And those are the only people, even when I hadn't learned my lesson of like, this is how you have to live life, I still was connecting with those people, and they were trying to impart wisdom on me, like what you were saying, Kevin, like it's not going to be there all the time. And it was just bounce off like, it won't be here all the time. No, it'll be here all the time. You know.
And you wake up one day and
no, that's how it happened. Yeah.
You got to put your own pants on.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, man. For me, like we were talking about, you have these pivotal experiences. I was 19 when my mom passed away, and the weekend prior to her passing, I had seen her, and I had planned to go see her the weekend that she passed away. And I was working at a chicken wing joint and hustling, you know, and training, wanting to become a pro fighter and shit at the time. And I remember putting off visiting her on Saturday night, and by Sunday morning, she had passed away. And that lesson was so important. And my wife, and I have friends that get on me and say like I have like imposter syndrome or whatever, where, you know, I don't think I'm doing as good as I should be or whatever, or doing what I, you know, or that I am whatever I am. And I think part of it comes from that, where it's like, you just can't trust, I can't trust people telling me I'm good enough. I got to keep getting better. I can't trust that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and everybody's going to be there. And I think that molded me in the way that I live so heavily, because after that I recognize, and my mother was like a doting, very Italian mom. Like she was very much like affectionate and very like caring, and I mean just the best kind of person, like just all the way around. And she was one of those personalities that was fucking powerful. So she was like a force of nature, and it's like the wind never coming back. You know what I mean? Or like the shoreline goes away forever, like the ocean never comes back. That was how impactful it was on me losing her at that age, because growing up, like I was totally a mama's boy for sure. Like, and then all of a sudden, you know, she was ill for maybe 2 years, and maybe of that 2 years, like 9 months, she was like really sick, and then she was just gone. And so for me, that more than anything was like the biggest lesson that I could ever have, that like nothing is constant. I sit back now and I look at my wife, who's like beautiful and smart, and I'm like, what the fuck is she doing with me? And fucking I look at my perfect kid who's growing, and I just make sure I take a great fucking mental picture, because it's nothing promised, man. Nothing owed, nothing promised. And that's what I see with a lot of these young people. Whatever reason, that lesson never sunk in, that none of this is for you, man. What you can get out of it, what you can get out of it, get and enjoy and bask in it. But like none of this is here for you. The world's gonna keep spinning. It's gonna keep turning its own. You're insignificant unless you make yourself significant through like your own merit and value.
Through your own, and it's absolutely, and that it's what you get what you put in.
Absolutely.
You get what you put in. It's I don't that I'm when
and even then you may not get what you feel you're due, and that's just the fucking that's just the
life.
Yeah.
You can't even like you can do everything right and lose.
Yeah.
And that is a lesson that is just
lost. It's lost on these kids because they're like nothing's fair. They haven't learned that life isn't fair.
Diet properly. You can make sure your mental game is there. You can make sure your skill set is up. You can be the best version of yourself on fight night and still lose.
Yep.
And that's an important lesson. And that shit's okay. And you have to fucking get to the point where it is okay. People don't know how to fucking take an L anymore. That's a big fucking issue where like it goes back to like Friday. I remember the movie Friday. I remember the speech that the Pops character gives Ice Cube's character where he's like, you might take ass one, but you live to fight another day. And I can see the gradual decline or incline of the mentality of like, I can't lose, I can't be wrong. And I think it's the same kind of mentality of a kid who couldn't take an ass whooping and show his face the next day without shooting up a place. It's the same kid who can't listen to you have a different opinion. It's the same kid who wants to throw a Molotov cocktail at somebody. It's the same kid who wants to go to a riot with an AR when he's 17 years old, regardless of whether he defended himself or not. It's the same mentality of like, I'm right and I'm righteous, when what we should really be doing is questioning if we're right or righteous all day, every day, and not just deciding whether we are or we aren't. Because like to me, it's like when people ask me like, what genre of music do you make? You got to listen to it and tell me, motherfucker. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? The example yeah, people ask me my political leaning. It's like, I don't talk to me for an hour and then you tell me what you think it is, because I don't fucking know. Today, tomorrow, it's gonna change. So like, that's the thing now. All this absolutism, all this definitive, like I'm this and you're this and we're this to each other.
There's no gray areas.
Yeah.
Is what they're trying to push on us.
You know what? I love coming back with all these kids that are like in your age. Like you're not even that much younger than us, Kevin. You're like what, 4 years younger than us, and like and like literally all these kids, like they live in this fantasy world of absolutes and like movies and shit. So my favorite thing to throw at them is because they're like, no, it has to be this or it has to be that. I'm like,
I see the difference in the demographic. My brother Warren is the same exact age as Kevin, 1987, and he grew up in the hood. He grew up with hood people. He grew up with gully shit going on around him. He grew up hitting the wall. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, I don't mean literally hitting the wall. I mean hitting the wall figuratively, losing parents and stuff like that.
But I mean like the tax bracket that these kids are in, right? And that are all like, it's absolute that, you know, like communism has never done right and we got to do it right? I'm like, okay, so like they live in that world of like you said, like you said, Adam, with like the guys that like would like threaten me. They live in the world where their life is a movie and they're the hero and there's an absolute good and bad. So I love to throw the movie quote out to them. I'm like, oh, that's cool, you can think of that way, but only a Sith deals in absolutes. And they're just like,
the best.
Dude, I love so Andrew was telling me, like he was telling somebody when I was there, he's like, one of the best things that I like about Novolozo is like he doesn't take an L on Facebook, but I'm not winning, you know? That's the thing. I'm not winning. I'm just like making sure these people know that like, no, whatever extremes you're imposing on me, the fact that you're imposing the extremes on me means you're the same level of extreme. A lot of people don't get that, but when I throw that quote out at them, it jostles people. They're just like, but I'm not extreme because I'm right. It's like, oh, you just proved it.
A lot of people in our friend group who lean right, like Morrison and stuff like that, will really, really, really go out of their way to take the high ground, like a lot.
Yeah.
I see a lot of other people really get fucking flagrant with like the words they'll speak, the name calling or whatever. And these are the same people who give people shit for speech. And like, I see so much of that, and then I see you every now and then call somebody's wife a fucking cunt, or fucking tell somebody that they're a fucking idiot and they should fuck off, and that if they see you and they want to throw hands, like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I love that, because that's, to me, that's when all the riots began, and I was like, you know what? Good, because you know what? Some people should wake up to their fucking car being burned. Some people, because we all walk around the world. I've lost jobs before because a boss has spoke to me in a certain way, and I've gone, oh, wrong or right, whatever I did. First, check how the fuck you're talking to me, and talk to me like I'm just another motherfucker at the bus stop. Because if you're gonna come at me screaming at me and shit, we're gonna start off in a bad place. And I've had people be like, you gotta fucking get the fuck out of here. I think you just threatened me. And it's like, I didn't threaten you, but I just made you aware that you're operating under a very specific social construct that I'm agreeing to, and I'm allowing it to fucking play out that way. I'm giving you power over me. It's the same way that I think you should treat a server at a restaurant really, really well, because they're relinquishing power in service, right? So when you're a boss, you got to be a good boss to your fucking to the people under you, because they're relinquishing like personal sovereignty to your leadership because of a fucking paycheck. So like, make it worth it. Like, make your leadership worthy of it. So I think that over and over again, it's the same thing with all these people, where it's like, make your fucking idea worth my listening to it, and don't try and strong arm me into that shit. Because I'm not some lady who's out front of a fucking restaurant who's just gonna lean back while fucking 20 kids lean in and scream at me. I will, if a situation like that were to happen to me when I didn't have my family with me or my child with me, Noveloso, I can only hope there'd be video and you could slow it down to see me like smile and see the glee, like, because me and Morrison talk about it all the time, where he's like, you have a treat yourself moment where somebody fucking pushes the envelope to a certain point where you're like, oh no, I'm within
my rights
to do whatever the fuck I want to do now. Like, and I don't think people understand that. Again, it's a lot of kids living in theory. With my young brother Mario, who's an affiliate of our channel, he's got a lot of friends who will talk some shit, man. And like, my thing of it is like, I'm down for you to have a different opinion, but if you're gonna like talk that much shit to me on Facebook and shit, like, you should probably make sure I'm a person you're never gonna see, or you should be willing to talk that shit to me in person.
And here's the crazy thing too. So like, his brother grew up with like with their dad raising him like a Cuban immigrant. So like, and that's the other thing I think his friends don't know or forget, that like, just because he agrees with them and is artistic and everything. I've always said this about your brother, Andrew. If there was like if it had to be a fight to the death between your brother and his friends, I'm just like, dude, I'm putting all of my money and future money and taking out loans and selling things. I will go steal somebody's money and put that on your brother, because he's still, like, you can tell. So
there's just some genetic in there. Yeah, I get
you can just tell the way he talks too, because he doesn't put his foot in his mouth. He's very stern.
Smart.
Yeah, he's smart, and he's stern about what he says, and he doesn't speak on anything that he doesn't know about.
Family too, that if you let people walk on you, they fucking will.
Exactly.
So you have to be prepared to be
he's assertive for that type of people, and he's assertive in real life. These people are assertive on Facebook.
Well, he's considered kind of a softie in my family, and not in a bad way. He's like like a mellow.
That's what I'm saying. Comparatively in your family, like he's the little prince, like you said, right?
So much reefer just because I'm fucking. Look, we have a lot of friends in the music industry who like to play around and do different drugs and stuff like that. I don't fuck with it. I'm hype as it is. I don't need no upper in my life.
You don't need help with that.
I need to smoke weed and drink water. That's what the fuck I need. I don't need no other additives. Every fucking 6 to 8 months, give me a couple of mushrooms so I can like calm my ego down. Because like I was telling you, like going to jiu-jitsu again recently, doing bag work recently, trying to get my cardiovascular stamina back up. You know, I stopped fighting like almost 10 years ago now, like 8-9 years ago. I had brain surgery like almost 10 years ago, and like I'm feeling good. I was at jiu-jitsu a couple times recently. I'm feeling good. I'm eating people's lunch on the fucking mat a little bit here and there, and it's like, okay,
so
what can we do?
Actually,
what can we do here? What exciting fucking things can we get into?
Actually, something cool in reference to like getting healthy and stuff. So there's a good friend of mine. He's a guy from right here in Riviera, but he lives in Las Vegas now because he says he hates everybody in Riviera that he grew up with. He's a black guy, loves anime, speaks very intelligently. Had a very similar experience as my wife growing up in West Palm, where because he didn't speak all hood, people made fun of him. However, he grew up like going to boxing gyms and getting really good, and he's like built like a fucking Greek god. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, he was fighting for Mayweather in Las Vegas for a little bit, like as an amateur or whatever. Like, he's pretty good, but like he's really good with fitness. Like, and I wanted to get him on the podcast because we're gonna have a great time talking to him about like Black Lives Matter and stuff.
And tonight we need to talk about some other stuff too in regards to that because I have a couple of ideas.
Gotcha. And I've been hitting him up to do like fitness stuff forever, and like now things are calmed down for him, and he's actually starting to do fitness stuff because he's got a fucking 8-pack right now, and he's like, I'm at it, but he's like, oh man, I'm out of shape, and I'm like, I can see your 8-pack through your shirt, and he's like, oh, can you? Oh, I'm pushing my gut out right now, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, you 0% body fat motherfucker saying you're out of shape to me.
Well, it's so funny what in shape is to different people too, man. Because like for me,
his in shape is.
Right now, but I could still roll like know, a couple 5-minute periods on the mat. I could still do bag work for about 12 rounds before I get tired. I think I'd probably box maybe like 8 rounds before I get tired. Man, I really box, but.
Somebody like threatened him like in his house, and he was like to his like baby mom, he's like, take this phone, right? And she filmed him, and the guy was like, oh, you want to throw hands? And like my dude is like out of shape but like fucking ripped still, and he was a boxer, like almost professional boxer, right? And he just lets the guy like throw at him a couple times, and then he just fucking like it was one hit, and then he was just like, don't ever fucking come in my home again. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. Like, and I was like, and you're like, that happened like a month before we talked, and he was like, I'm out of shape. But yeah, I definitely want to get him on here.
There was an old man named Mr. Marcus in one of the first gyms that I was at, and he used to say, some guys got different kind of power. You got guys with pillow hands, you got guys with pop, you got guys with whoomp, and you got guys with crack. And the differences were pillow hands, where you can hit somebody all night and you can't get rid of them. Even a guy with pillow hands can knock somebody out with the right timing and the right shot, but pillow hands you just don't have that kind of power. Pop is like you got quick hands maybe, or like you can string a few together and snap a head back. Won't is what they used to say that I had, where you hit somebody and they don't realize they're dead until they're like 3 steps. Like I had really good body shot. I had really mean left hook to the body. I had a really mean jab, but I had the kind of shot that like maybe I hit you 2 or 3 times, and then you go like, oh wait, these aren't good.
I can't take this.
I don't like this at all. I had one of my old guitar players in my old band. He really got into wanting to kickbox and box, and I had a gym that I was a partner in at the time, Palm Beach Martial Arts and Fitness, and we're like gonna spar a couple rounds, and I'm gentle. I'll be as gentle with you as you want to be with me, especially when I know somebody's a first timer. I'll pitter pat with you. I'll make light contact. I will let you make light contact. But if you try and drill me, I will fucking drill you back. And he drilled me one time real good. And so then I just decided, like, all right, I'm going to feed him like at least 10 jabs in the next 3 minutes. And I just remember his upper lip and his nose just looked like they were the same thing. They just fucking like together and shit.
Dude.
So you got these different kinds of power, and
he's a student of boxing, though. Like I've seen him.
Dudes who are fit, develop that kind of power, okay, a lot more quickly than guys who are unfit. Like for me, I had like natural gifts, right? I was very fortunate, and those skills were honed from a very, very, very young age. I was 4 years old when I started boxing. With a guy who's fit, though, if they can learn how to box and they know how to move their body.
Dude, that's the thing. He would be a professional boxer if he didn't have to have shoulder surgery, because he hit a guy so hard that like in like it was here in like the Fight Club boxing ring in West Palm or whatever. He hit a guy so hard because he was pissed at himself. He said that he let the guy hit him or whatever. That he hit him so hard that like he hurt his shoulder permanently.
It happened to my knees. I kicked so hard that I broke on my own knees.
Yeah, like, but dude, I've seen him on those videos of him fighting, where like he's not going at a lower strength or speed than he can fully go because he's testing the guy out. He can like see walking up like after the bell rings, like he's like, oh, I can just beat this guy. So then he just has fun with him in the most disgusting way, dude. He's like, he like doesn't get hit, and then he's just throwing like medium power, no power. He's like baiting him into shit, and then but then the whole thing is when he's like, all right, I'm done with this. It's that shot
back in the day
that he defended his family with. Dude, dude, seeing that with no gloves was terrifying because I thought it was scary when I saw him do it with a glove because the dude like fucking came out of his, because you know how they're wearing whatever shoes, so like he's in like real boxing boots and like got the real guard and he's fighting some guy that's like, no, I'm just gonna fight. He knocked the dude out of his shoes. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen, dude.
Back in the day,
with gloves.
What guys would love to do is, let's say like you had a batch of new guys come in. And you had somebody who, like, in their class, so to speak, is like a little dominant, but they're like bully. They're like a little bit of a bully. Maybe they're cocky. Maybe they talk shit. Maybe they pick on people. Maybe they always look for weaker sparring partners. And you'll see a coach, like boxing coaches and jiu-jitsu coaches and stuff are like very different. Like, you go to my jiu-jitsu gym, everybody's like super friendly and communal and like talk you through moves and shit. Whereas in a boxing gym, it's very cutthroat. And fucking, I remember coaches being like, pick a guy who's like a dick and be like, oh man, you're looking good. You're looking clean. You're coming along quicker than anybody I've ever seen. And they'll start gassing a guy up. Start gassing him up and gassing him up.
Gaslighting him.
And then they'll put him in with an animal who's like a 15-year-old murderer. You know what I mean? And they'll put like a 22-year-old guy who thinks he's fucking, you know, Mr. Muscles or whatever. And I've seen it happen a million times. I've been a party to it. You know what I mean? Where your coach comes up to you and is like, drop him with a body shot in 2. You know what I mean? Like, and they'll tell you what they want you to do. Like, and you're called on almost to be like a little bit of a gym enforcer, depending on what. And the same thing happens in jiu-jitsu. If you got somebody like bullying people or like doing stuff over and over again they're not supposed to, you might have a purple belt or a brown belt who's like the gym enforcer, who the coach will be like, hey, show him what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, take him on a ride. But you just don't see it as much, like, you know what I mean, compared to like a boxing gym where, and that's what people need in the world, man. People are gassed the fuck up. People are gassed way the fuck up, and they need a ring enforcer to come in and straighten shit out.
So
ego check.
Oh yeah, man. So speaking about sports, I feel like, so Kevin, you're like a diehard Ohio everything fan.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So
get Kevin on with your other mutual friend and my buddy Steve, and let them have kind of like, and you and me kind of be like secondary. We can be guests essentially, and let them kind of run a sports show for an episode.
Oh yeah. Well, I wanted.
That'd be cool.
That trio fits nicely.
And then I also want our Kevin and I's mutual friend to be like the, for lack of a better term, like, you know, the dumb girl that is on the panel.
In radio, they call it the hole.
Yeah. fitting for the.
I didn't make it up. That's just.
Yo, she would be. She just has that personality that.
Yes.
I don't know.
Dude,
what
she'll
her
fight
personality
people.
is called.
She'll fight people.
When we get off the air in a little bit here, let's discuss the when we want to do it date wise and stuff, and we'll see what we can figure out. But it's about midnight now.
Yeah.
This has been another great conversation on the
play our
Lonely
cool
Screen
outro.
Kevin, thank you for hanging out with us tonight and chit chatting with us, man. Giving us your insights as an educator in America today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I hope we can do it again. What we got? We got Patreon.
Batting a 99 out of 100, my man.
Yeah. Dude, I think a good barometer of how I like pick people that I want to associate with is our friendship.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. No. If I get a friend request or something like that, and I see you on there, it's like, all right,
there's good people. Same with you.
Yeah.
Same with both of you.
Getting it. And it's funny though, because like I have a handful of people that I've never met in real life, and it's just through like dumb. I used to be. Were you ever in Delray Raw?
No, I heard about it. Sounds terrible.
Biggest shit show in the world. But I've made like a half a dozen friends from that who never met in real life, probably never will meet in real life, but we used to get in it with people on there, and still to this day and sometimes you see them like getting attacked by somebody. It's like, oh, let me go help my friend out real quick.
I do see that.
I met this person. They might be fake for all I know.
Dude, I do see that with like people call out like on your posts or like Tiffany's posts, like the Delray Raw crew or whatever, like, and I'm like, yeah, that's like your boys, yeah. And I love everything that you guys say too, because it's troll in a good way, like, yeah, it's just the right troll.
I don't know what it is. I don't know how I started doing it. I've always kind of been just that, like, I'm gonna be an asshole, but like I want to be a good guy asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna go in and stir the pot when I need to, but like
asshole with a purpose.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt anybody, but like sometimes you gotta fucking shake things up.
You gotta break some eggs to make an omelet.
Fuck.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Kevin, is there anything you want to plug? Social media handles,
Browns.
anything like that, or not? That's cool
today's
really.
the day. Baseball.
Today's the day.
If I was a teacher, I might keep my shit on the hush hush with the way we behave on this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I gotta.
Don't worry about that.
I used to. I've been teaching this is my 5th year teaching, and ever since I would switch up my Facebook name, so.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Where people wouldn't find me, and I eventually got kicked off of Facebook. I had a little hiatus.
You got to be careful anyway, being on a network called LSD.
Yeah, so
this was also the guy that I was telling you about when one of our friends was like, "Oh, I've got all these Facebook accounts." I'm like, "No, this guy has been like literally like Facebook's like this account does not exist anymore. You cannot contact them. You can't look up any information. You can't look at pictures. All the tags are gone. Like everything's gone. They wiped him."
They took me down. I had to start from scratch, but I got a couple people from work that I'm friends with that have found me on the book this time around, but I got dirt on them, so.
Well, look for Kevin in a future sports-related episode coming here soon. We're gonna work that out when we get off the stream here. Check out our Patreon, subscribe, like, and to those of you who listen to us often, share our shit with your friends who you think might be into the podcast. Comment, talk shit to us, tell us what's good, what's dumb. We're interested in knowing. We're interested in making this thing better every time. Just like how we had a cool fucking intro today. Very exciting.
And we're gonna have a cool outro too.
Ooh, fuck.
It's just graphics. It's just graphics.
Special.
All right, guys. Here we go.
Subscribe, Patreon, buy t-shirts.
Yeah, all the things.